Hi, and welcome everybody to another edition of the Winner's Circle Sports Betting Podcast. It's Friday, March the 31st, the last day of March. And what better way to spend the last day of March than with two of my good buddies and great handicappers, Mr. Jesse Schule of jesseschule.com and Sean Higgs of picksandparleys.net. And of course, I'm Ross Benjamin of rbwins.com. Major League Baseball, we're going to be talking today. Baseball been very, very good to me, says Jesse, because he's off to another strong start as usual. In every time we change seasons, this guy gets off and running, and he doesn't look back. Jesse, how you doing, my friend?
I'm doing well, Ross. I will correct you though, not every time. Just a good proportion of the time I get off to a good start. Yeah, I don't want to make promises I can't cash. But yeah, I've gotten off to several hot starts in the last year, and a sweep yesterday was exactly what do they say on the A team, Sean? I love it when a plan comes together.
Yes, animal.
Anyway, Sean, how are you, my friend?
Yeah, I don't know if that's because he brought up the A team because I'm rocking my Goonies shirt. And no, this is not a sloth mask. This is my actual face. But yeah, I'm going 80s style, my Goonies on.
I have no idea what you're talking about. Anyway,
you never saw the Goonies or the A team, Ross?
No, man. The A team, yes. Back in you're talking A team with Mr. T and all that. Yeah. It's been a long time, obviously.
Exactly. Well, Goonies was like 2 years after. I was like 85. Goonies came out.
I don't even know. I didn't.
Don Matuzak played football. He was on the Oakland Raiders. He was
nuts.
I think there's a generation gap here, Sean. Me and you were like 10, 12-year-old kids at that time, and we would have had to have seen the Goonies.
Yeah, and I was married with 5 kids, so.
Exactly.
Not exactly. I only have one.
My baseball, not undefeated, but 9-6 at a nice plus white A, plus 408 or 386, depending where you got that Ranger run line. So nice.
9-6.
I'm sure 9-6 is more profitable than 2-0.
Yeah.
Well, plus, I did props 9-16 in player props yesterday, plus $55. And I say on the show, like even for me out of the gate, I do like just $5. I'm like, you know what? I can't go crazy with the props. $5 just to have fun. Today I got like another 30 already for today's games. I'll throw them out for each show. I think I'll have some. I like RBI and run props, and I really don't go. You can't go crazy on them. One, I bet 10 MLB games a day. So if you're gonna do player props, I said yesterday with Jesse in the show, I was like, dude, just got to like $1. Whatever you're small, they're fun. They pay back a little bit. You're invested. I don't know. That's my rant for today, Ross. You got it. Player props.
Well, you missed my rant the other day, and Jesse sat through it patiently, and I appreciate that. In any event,
I noticed you sure got people's attention with that, Ross. There was a lot of support coming in for you after that.
Yeah, and I appreciate that very much, folks, because it isn't easy being any one of us. We're in the spotlight every day. We put our ass on the line. We don't tell you we had a pick after the game went over. We're saying it right here live on video to you. So in any event, guys, your handicapping theories in Major League Baseball. It's our first Major League Baseball video of the year. Let's get a couple basics out of the way. I personally always would prefer listed pitchers. I base a lot of my Major League Baseball handicapping on whoever the slated starting pitchers are. Again, it's not my entire arsenal based around that because, as we both know, this world of modern baseball right now, Major League Baseball specifically, has got a lot more specialized with relievers and guys not going more than 5 innings and such. In just that particular subject alone, Jesse, listed or action?
Definitely listed, and I think you're right when you say it's changed. For me, it used to be all about the pitching. I'd just break down the pitching matchup, and I would take the team, based on their starting pitcher. It's tough to do that now when you got openers and, pitchers don't go 8-9 innings very often anymore. So, it's forced me to become more diverse in my style for handicapping games. But I still do focus a lot on the starting pitchers, and when I lock into something I really like based on the starter, there's always the option to take the first 5 innings, right?
Absolutely, and that to me is my biggest change is I start to look at the first 5 inning lines more than I ever have. Actually, I never used to use those, but just for what Jesse just said and what I alluded to with the specialization in Major League Baseball in terms of pitching, that's something that you have to account for more, and you may find better value in that regard, Sean.
Yeah, and as Jess said, he was making, I'm a listed guy too, because I'm thinking that pitcher's going to come out. And unlike Jesse's bold take of 8 and 9 innings, guys, I'm hoping for 6 or 7 from a starter now. I mean, like 6 innings, like 100 pitches, you got to get him out of there. Like, what are we doing here? We talk about the 80s. I mean, holy cow, guys were throwing 26 complete games back in the day.
Yeah,
first 5 is definitely a way to go. You have to. And specialize. We got to check that with the rule change now, Ross, because I don't think relievers, you can't come in and be like, lefty, righty, and start switching. You bring a reliever in, he's got to face 3 guys. You can't play back and forth. So that's another thing we got to look at this year with the, rule change. But yeah, I'm a listed guy. I'm an overnight guy, like right out of the gate firing on the game. So I need to know who my pitcher is. I'm hoping to get 6+ from him. That's my theory when I'm taking a guy or fading a guy. He's going to get shells or my starter's going to have a great game. So I need innings. I need a listed name.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know. And again, Sean, I'll defer to you and then hear Jesse's opinion on this. But I handicap bullpens now. And that's something I very rarely used to look at back in the day. You knew who the closer was, but you were so reliant on whoever the starting pitcher you were using. You had confidence in that guy going 7, 8 innings back in the day. Now you can't. Yeah, that's not a given. Especially you'll see some managers just don't let their starters go beyond 6 innings. They want them for the long haul. They've got the 7th, 8th, and 9th inning guys, especially if you got the lead. You got those locked in a specific plan. So, Jesse, do you look at the bullpens at all?
I try to look at as much as I can, Ross. And definitely the bullpens, you have to. And I play a lot of run lines, and the bullpens come into play when you want to take a dog plus 1.5, or a favor, either way, it really comes into play.
Higgsy?
Yeah, you got to look at the bullpens. And, it's just, the game has changed so much. And I know, like, for me, it used to be, like you said, you'd have a starter go 7 innings, you'd have a bridge guy and then a closer, and that was it. And now you got a 6-inning pitcher, sometimes a 5-inning guy. You're rolling a fountain of guys, and now everybody's throwing like 98 to 105. So it's just power. I'm waiting for a team, like we talk about openers, like the 1 inning. Like, what do we need closers for? Like Tampa Bay started the whole, let's start with an opener. I mean, go back to the Nasty Boys with Dibble, Myers, and Norm Charlton. Remember they used to go like 3 innings each? Like, I'm shocked we don't see that now. Like, some teams are like, you know what? We could throw a guy out here every inning. Why isn't your starter coming in a 5th inning and just closing the game? He's the best. The 5 starters are supposed to be your best pitchers on the team. Why don't you start with your bullpen going 1, 2, 3, 4 innings and then bringing your starter to shut things down? That's the way it should be when you think about it. It's just so weird now. Again, you can't use relief pitchers simultaneously.
Well,
it's just a wacky. Listen, the ball's always rolling for us, right? It's definitely changing how we got to handicap these games. With now I think steals are going to go up. Throw to first base, like you can throw there twice, and then the guy's gonna be off and running.
Yeah,
phantom guy on second base. Talk about run lines. I'm a run line guy. I'll take phase plus money run lines. I want. Now you get this phantom guy on second, like it just crushes every total I have, whether I'm on the over or under. As much as I love baseball, it's frustrating. Like, what are we doing here? Go back to basics. It worked for 150 years.
Yeah. I would say this about your theory about starting with your relief pitchers and then using the starter in the last 5 innings. Starters are designed to go 5+ innings. They're supposed to be. They're the guys who are well conditioned to do so. Relievers, you'll get relievers that appear in 100 games a year, but you want
facing 2 guys.
I just don't agree with that ever being the case. What you just said, because
it sounds like he's auditioning for a role as the manager of the Tampa Bay Rays.
But I'm just saying, you see Tampa do that. They throw a guy for 2 innings,
right? But they're using all relievers throughout the course, or they're just patching it through the whole game. They're not.
Yeah.
They're not using a starter in the last 5 innings.
But
No,
but
I know
Ross,
that.
the use of an opener has become a lot more common, and isn't he just like taking it one more step from there?
Yeah. Well, there's many different ways you could look at it, but that unorthodox approach that Sean just mentioned, I just can't see that ever happening. And I respect everything you have to say, Sean,
I'm
as
telling
well
you,
as
Ross,
Jesse.
we
but
will see 7-inning games in like 3 years. It's too
I
long.
take
We
it
got to go
Ross
7
isn't a
innings.
fan of the opener either.
I hate the opener. I want my guy to go. I don't care. Dude, the old days, guys would go out and get shelled. So tough luck, bro. You're getting paid $800,000. Go out there, pitch 6 innings. I don't care if they abuse you. Then I'll go to my bullpen guy, and then that's that.
Yeah, I mean, could you imagine if an NHL team had 10 goalies? You know what I mean? You wouldn't. Anyway, you know where I'm going with this. All right, so here's what we got today. I'm going to be looking at the Mets in Miami. Sean will be looking at the White Sox at the Houston Astros. Lance Lynn against Christian Javier. Jesse gets the privilege of looking at the Indians with Hunter Gaddis on the mound, a rookie pitcher, and also they'll be playing at Seattle with Robbie Ray, who I guess you consider either an ace or a number 2 starter legitimately on most clubs in Major League Baseball. But we'll see. But let's start with Sean, the Chicago White Sox. Again, Lance Lynn on the mound against Christian Javier, 8:10 p.m. Eastern time. Sean, Houston -150 and 7.5. Houston is +140 as a run line favorite. What do you got for us?
Yeah, I am not a Lance Lynn guy. Last year, I was like, there's no way I'm taking this guy. He came off the IL, got shelled for first couple months, turned it around, though. The wily veteran, had a nice solid second half. This spot here, though, I'm going to lean. I had the under and the White Sox yesterday, and that paid off for me here. I'm going to look, though, for Houston, maybe a run line play here. I'm just not, Lynn to me is just not a guy I want to back. I don't want to back him. And Christian Javier, the playoffs, I think he was out of the bullpen last year, but Ace is out of the bullpen. I mean, the guy, 11 innings, 10 Ks, he's just good, solid last year, 194 Ks. He's a strikeout guy. The White Sox like to swing them, they want to swing. They got Roberts and Anderson at the top of the lineup. They want to get on base all the time. But as a strikeout guy, I think, we talk about different things in baseball here. I think in the beginning of the year, pitchers have a little edge. I know we saw a lot of overs yesterday. We did see that. But sign me up for Javi here. Little run line action. I think it was a 138 I saw for the Astros on a run line. I'll go that route. I love the lineup. A lot of young guys and the pitching edge. I'm taking the power throw over to the wily veteran. I mean, he didn't have a great spring training either. He had a 4-something ERA. Lynn had in spring. So I'm going to take the young Stros in a bounce back spot. And even last night, whenever I see teams, whether it's like a Monday Night Football, let's honor somebody or team pass, whenever they roll out these honor roll kind of games or here come the flags, we win. I mean, the Reds beat the Braves last year after they won the World Series. Here come the Astros. Let's roll out the banner. Loser. I mean, I think, bounce. It is.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it's just, it seems like it always cashes, but bounce back spot, better pitcher. Let's go, Houston. Run line, though. I can't lay,
Yeah, I got it 140, so even better for you. I got 140 as a consensus line over at Sports Memo. So they do a great job of keeping the lines up to date.
Let's go a little prop there. Let's go a Kyle Tucker RBI prop there for +170 Ribby prop.
Okay. So Kyle Tucker to get to at least have 1 RBI at +170. He likes Houston -1.5 at +140. I can't blame him. I also do not care for Lance Lynn. I haven't for a long time. It just seems like he's a very erratic pitcher later in his career, where he'll put 4 or 5 good starts together and then fall off the cliff for the next 3 or 4. That seems to be the norm with him over the last few years. So I can't disagree with that pick. How about yourself, Jesse?
Well, part of my strategy in the early going of the baseball season is I like to take a lot of run line dogs, and I did have Chicago as a run line dog yesterday. And the fact that I don't have them today suggests that I agree with Sean. I just don't have a lot of faith in Lance Lynn, and the Astros at home are a tough nut to crack. So I'll agree with that pick.
All right, Jesse. So your game, while we have your while we have you on the floor, is the Cleveland Indians at the Seattle Mariners. And again, Hunter Gaddis last year made 2 starts, wasn't very good. 2 starts last year. He gave up, his ERA was 18.41 in 2 starts. He gave up 7 home runs in 7 1/3 innings pitched. So not very good. Okay. In the spring, 2 starts and 3 relief appearances, a 2.77 ERA. But again, as we both know, all know, I should say, in the spring, you're facing a lot of guys who are playing AAA and AA ball right now. So in any event, Jesse, I don't want to take your thunder away. What's your thoughts on that game? Also, we're looking at Robbie Ray for the Seattle Mariners. Right now, the Mariners are -170 and 7.5. I know you got down early on the Mariners. You were telling me off here, much less than 170, but you're going to look at the first 5 innings and tell us why you drifted in that direction and who you like.
Well, Ross, I drifted in that direction because I was forced by the line move, but because of the price.
I thought you were going to blame me.
No. I don't want our listeners to think that you could force me to do anything.
Don't
Ross.
worry about it. You know, I got a lot of people's back. I have my back these days, so I'm glad of that. Go ahead, Jesse.
We did mention, though, that if you're handicapping based on the pitching matchup, you should look at the first 5 innings. And this is a play on the pitching matchup. We got Robbie Ray. You mentioned him. Maybe he's an ace. Maybe he's not an ace. In my eyes, Robbie Ray is an ace. He was the ace of a Diamondback staff for many years. Granted, it wasn't the best staff in Major League Baseball, but he had the tough task of being the number 1 starter for a poor team in a hitter's park, and he didn't do too badly in that role. Then he goes to Toronto, wins a Cy Young, had a bit of a down year last year, but even in a down year, he still put up pretty decent numbers. And you mentioned Hunter Gaddis. I had a look at all those things that you mentioned, the spring training stats. He got roughed up in a few starts last year. I don't know that I can read too much into that, to be honest, on such a small sample size. So what I will rely on, Ross, is what his team thinks of him. And what his team thinks of him is he wasn't supposed to be in the starting rotation. He's filling a spot for Tristan McKenzie. They don't think he's talented enough to be in the rotation. So I'm going to have to trust that. And Robbie Ray, I mean, you look at him in the spring, a 106 ERA, 1 WHIP. Last year, he was 6-6 with a 3.02 ERA at home. I mentioned it was a down year, but 18 home starts and an ERA of 3.02. I mean, there's a lot of guys in the majors that would like those numbers. He was 2-0, or he is 2-0 with a 0.86 ERA lifetime versus Cleveland, the Cleveland baseball team.
What did I say? I said the Indians. Oh my goodness!
I say the Indians all the time.
Here we go. Here we go, Jesse. You know, Utah Valley State. Well, you know, Indians, Guardians. What's it?
Can I get in trouble for calling them the Cleveland baseball team?
No, not at all.
Anyways, long story short, I like Robbie Ray. I expect him to have a big year. I'll take the Mariners on the first half run line, -110. So relatively affordable. I like it. Let's go Seattle.
All right. So Seattle on the run line, you said?
That's
minus
correct.
a half a run in the first 5 innings at and the price was +110, you said? Or
-110.
-110. So Seattle minus a half a run, -110 in the first 5 innings. I'm glad you brought up WHIP because that's an important. I really put a lot more emphasis in WHIP than ERA. And if you're not familiar with that term, it's walks plus hits divided by innings pitched. And I like to get a pitcher optimally who has a WHIP of 130 or less over at least a minimum of his last 3 starts. And then I'll take a serious look at him. Contrarily, if a pitcher's 150 or higher with their WHIP over the last 3+ starts, it's a guy I'm going to look to fade or have a reason to look to fade. Sean, your thoughts in terms of WHIP?
Yeah, let me tell you, so Javier last year had a .95 WHIP. I mean, I'm for whips of like 1.05 or lower. 150.
Yeah.
That's like or 130. I see those. I'm like, it's a hit parade. I like the whip and I like batting average against. I know now they have like exit velocity and weighted on base percent, all kind of stuff. Give me the whip and batting average against, because that's I know it's weighted on bases based on like doubles allowed and stuff, like different things like that. But, the whips are big because it's like you said, it's hits, walks, and the batting average against are they getting those? Are they getting timely hits? Because that's sometimes you see the high ERA, but then you're like, what's going on here? Oh, he's got they're just getting timely hits off a guy.
Well, high ERA too. And I get what you're saying. That's specifically what you just mentioned.
Yeah.
The last thing you just mentioned is true. And then you also have a lot of pitchers who pitch to the score. If they're a starting pitcher or up 6-0, they're not going to be looking to pick corners. A home run's not going to hurt you. A walk will, if you're, so.
It's the equivalent of the prevent defense. You're like, what's happening? Like, you want your guy to go out there and have like this is a monster start, but then they're like, whatever. What's 6-1, 6-3? What's the difference?
Used to be a guy named Catfish Hunter that pitched for Oakland and the Yankees. And he was a guy who put in a lot of complete games back in the day, and his ERA wasn't always great because he pitched to the score, and he would end up winning 20 games, win a Cy Young Award, and give up 50 home runs on the year. So that's
36 complete games. He's 20-12.
Yeah, exactly. So Jesse, any other thing you want to chime in on that particular topic?
I want to ask you guys, how do you handle pitchers that pitch out of jams all the time? I'm trying to think of some names. I've seen Bumgarner do it quite a bit, especially in Zach Greinke. Let's face it, neither of those guys are the pitchers they used to be, but they're not exactly fades for me yet. They still pitch well enough to win a lot of games. And these are guys that, they're putting a ton of guys on base, but they're veterans that they know how to work out of jams, and they do that. So how do you handicap that? Do you just go on a case by case basis?
I go on I can't speak for Sean, but I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interject too quick. Did you have anything else you wanted to add to that, Jesse?
No, I was done.
Yeah. So let me go first, and then I'll defer to Sean. That's a great point that you just brought up, and an easy way to find out if a guy pitches out of a lot of jams is he has a high whip in the 140s and 150s, and his ERA will show it's in the 3s. For example, over his last 4 starts. To me, that tells me, based on his whip, he's pitching with out of a lot of jams, and he's flirting with disaster. In terms
that's your xFIP. That's your a trendy xFIP. Your expected runs or whatever with
I
the low ERA and the high batting average. ERA, stuff like that. It's opposite. It's like it's inverted.
So I guess you trust some guys much more than others. You mentioned a couple. I think Greinke and Bumgarner, by the way, have been on the downside of their career, and I won't trust them as much as I may have a couple years ago in the specific situations that Jesse just alluded to. But again, folks, don't get caught up in the season resume of a starting pitcher too. Once you get about halfway through the season, a guy may have got off to a great start and his ERA shows it's in the low 3s, but over his last 5 starts, his whip is over 140 to 150, and his ERA has been over 5. So something to keep an eye on as well. Again, Sean, I'll let you take it away on how that could be misleading in terms of guys pitching out of jams.
Yeah, real fast, I want to say, let's take a J-Rod home run for Seattle, plus 275 against Gaddis there. Usually I'm going to bring up, I was like, his RBI numbers was not that good. It was like, I think he was like a minus 135 on a run.
Right.
I'm like, you know what? I'll take a.
What does that mean for my man Greinke?
How do we go from your opinion on pitchers that can pitch out of jams, and that could be misleading sometime, to J-Rod plus never mind.
Because I didn't get my Seattle takes. I wanted to say take Julio Rodriguez plus a home run there. But so the pitching out of jams, like Greinke, That I said yes. I can't take a guy who throws like 86 miles an hour in Major League Baseball. I just can't back him. At home, though, the guy is phenomenal in Kansas City.
Yeah.
I had the over yesterday thinking he's going to give up runs, and I thought, Lopez coming over from National League would give up a couple runs. Yeah, 2-0. Here comes Greinke doing, he's like the guy in Major League with like canola oil on his head and Vaseline here. He's got hot sauce on his elbow. Like Greinke throws 85 miles an hour, but he gets. Like you said, he's a guy who just gets things done. The guy, he's a Hall of Famer, believe it or not. Like people are gonna be like, Hall of Fame. He's good. And
I think we need to take Sean and sit him down at a bar one day and feed him about 4 shots of Jack Daniels and 4 beers and let him tell stories. Because
I don't even need that.
I'd like to do more.
I don't know. I can just ramble on like that.
Anyway, we got a couple minutes left. Let me get to my game real quick. It's the Mets in the Miami Marlins. It's at Miami, and it's David Peterson for the Mets and Jesus Luzardo for Miami, a pair of left-handers. The Mets did win yesterday's opening game, 5-3 in the series. Max Scherzer gets the win. He goes 6 innings, 3 earned runs on 6 Ks. Sandy Alcantara, I guess okay start, but not by his standards. Here's the thing. David Peterson, 2 starts at Miami last year, 0-2 in those starts were the Mets. And his ERA, though, 4.22, but his whip was 103. He was victimized by 2 home runs. So there's, to me, a misleading ERA, because otherwise, when you look at his whip, he pitched really well with the exception of those 2 ERAs, and he struck out 15 in 10 2/3 innings pitched. Luzardo was 0-2 against the Mets in 2022 with a 6.75 ERA, a 161 whip. He allowed 2 home runs in those 2 starts. He only lasted a combined 9 1/3 innings pitched. And Miami's bullpen yesterday, a bit shaky, 3 1/3 innings pitched, 2 earned runs, 5 hits, 1 walk, while the Mets were shut down. Their bullpen was tremendous. After Scherzer left the game, they pitched 3 innings of scoreless baseball, gave up 1 hit, and struck out 6 while walking 0 in 3 innings pitched. I just think right now the value here is on those New York baseball Mets, minus the 115 over the Miami Marlins. I'm taking the Mets minus 115 over the Marlins. Jesse, once again, real quickly, tell the folks who your free pick is and what you may have coming up.
My pick was on the Mariners minus a half, first 5 innings minus 110. I did go 2-0 with my baseball picks on opening day. I was 9-1 last year with my first 10. You can see me at Jesse Schule Picks on YouTube, at Jesse Schule on Twitter, and jesseschule.com.
Sean, same to you.
Mr. Sean Higgs on Twitter, off a 9-6 Major League Baseball day yesterday. Nice 12-5 college hoops run, which is good. I had a UAB money line yesterday, so I was a loser, but ready for the Final Four. But a lot of baseball. Find out again, midday money show, 7 days a week. All your podcast channels, YouTube, picks and parlays, winner free picks for the for whatever else you need. You want all the premium stuff.
So you gave out a couple of
I forgot to say, Houston Astros today on the run line plus the 140. The player props there, we said Rodriguez in the Seattle game, home run plus 275. The Kyle Tucker ribby plus 170. And for you and the Mets fans out there, Pete Alonso, how about a little ribby for Alonso, 150? And then the run is a 125. So he cranks one on. I like to do if I get plus on both of those on a home run guy, I like to do both because I just only say a home run it'd be great if he's going to hit a home run. Predicting home runs, I think, is very tough.
Yes.
A run or a ribby out of the 3-hole, anytime's plus money. Any kind of team I like plus monies.
All right, there you go. And I am on the Mets minus 115. You can find me at rbwins.com. You can find me at Twitter, folks, and give me some follows over there at Ross Benjamin 1. Our videos go up on my Twitter feed every day. Also at my website at rbwins.com. And on a 14-6 last 20 and 33-21 last 54 all sports run, college basketball, I'll have both winners in the Final Four on Saturday. And folks, my college basketball on 11-2 run right now. So, and also 26-14 over my last 40, good for 65%. So at the most critical time of year is when I heat it up in college basketball. And hey, all 3 of us big-time handicappers. Big games are for big-time handicappers, and all of us have proven to do that over the last couple decades. So, again, JesseSchule.com, picksandparleys.net for Sean Higgs, and rbwins.com for Ross Benjamin. Until the next time, folks, have a great weekend. Take care. God bless, and thank you for viewing.